Breaking news from around your world on this Wednesday, July 31st, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. South Korea's military said North Korea conducted its second weapons test in less than a week Wednesday, firing 2 short-range ballistic missiles off its east coast in a move observers say could be aimed at boosting pressure on the United States as the rivals struggle to set up fresh nuclear talks. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said in a statement that both missiles were believed to have flown about 250 kilometers at a maximum altitude of 30 kilometers, and that the South Korean and U.S. militaries were trying to gather more details. The test would be yet another North Korean violation of UN Security Council resolutions and comes as that country's negotiations with the U.S. over its nuclear weapons program are at a stalemate, and as Pyongyang has expressed anger over planned U.S. South Korean military drills. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Wednesday he's very hopeful for a quick resumption in nuclear talks with North Korea, despite the North's recent weapons tests that have clouded already uncertain prospects for a return to the table. Pompeo told reporters accompanying him to an Asian security conference in Thailand that some preliminary work on a new round of talks has been done, but no new dates have been set. He said he's waiting to see if North Korea's foreign minister comes to Bangkok for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Regional Forum and is confident they will meet if he does. The State Department says the lead U.S. negotiator, Stephen Biegun, will be in Bangkok for North Korea-related discussions, but has not released his schedule. Talks have been stalled since President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's summit in February in Hanoi that broke up over disagreements about sanctions relief and what actions the North would have to take in exchange. But they agreed to restart the talks when they met at the demilitarized zone separating the two Koreas in June. At that time, U.S. officials spoke of the negotiations resuming in a matter of a few weeks. A new congressional report says multiple institutions knew that Dr. Larry Nassar was abusing gymnasts and failed to stop it. The report, which presents the findings of an 18-month congressional investigation into the Nassar scandal, says the FBI, the U.S. Olympic Committee, U.S. Gymnastics, and Michigan State University all had a chance to stop Nassar's abuse and failed to do so. The report, which was released Tuesday, says these organizations sat on evidence of his sexual misconduct for over a year, allowing for the additional sexual abuse of dozens of other girls. The former USA gymnastics doctor is serving an effective life sentence on child pornography charges and criminal sexual conduct after more than 150 women and girls said he sexually abused them over the past 2 decades. The FBI declined to comment on the report's findings. U.S. and Chinese envoys held constructive trade talks Wednesday aimed at ending a tariff war after President Trump accused Beijing of trying to stall negotiations in hopes he will not win re-election in 2020. The meeting, aimed at ending a tariff war over trade and technology, ended about 40 minutes ahead of schedule. Neither delegation spoke to reporters before U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin left for the airport. White House spokeswoman Stephanie Grisham said in a statement hours later that the meetings were constructive and that talks are expected to resume in Washington in September. According to the statement, the Chinese confirmed their commitment to President Trump to buy more U.S. agricultural exports, something Trump has been publicly casting doubt on. Trump has raised tariffs on $250 billion worth of Chinese imports. Beijing responded by taxing $110 billion of U.S. products. Rhetoric on both sides has hardened, prompting some economists to suggest U.S. and Chinese leaders are settling in for a war of attrition. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve is poised to cut its key interest rate Wednesday to counter what it sees as a threat to the U.S. economy, ranging from uncertainties caused by President Trump's trade conflicts to persistently subpar inflation to a darkened global outlook. It will be the Fed's first rate cut since December 2008 in the depths of the Great Recession. Most analysts expect the Fed to announce a quarter-point cut in its benchmark short-term rate. That rate, which affects many consumer and business loans, is now in a range of 2.25% to 2.5% after 9 quarter-point rate increases from December 2015 to December 2018. Under Chairman Jerome Powell, the Fed has faced pressure to ease credit since it raised its key interest rate in December for the 4th time in 2018 and hinted that additional rate increases were likely this year. The thinking is that a rate cut now, and possibly one or more additional cuts to follow, could help inoculate the economy against a potential downturn. Lowering the Fed's key short-term rate is intended to encourage borrowing and spending and energize the economy. The Trump administration said Wednesday it will create a pathway allowing Americans to legally and safely import lower-cost prescription drugs from Canada for the first time, reversing years of opposition from federal health authorities amid a public outcry over high prices for life-sustaining medications. The move weakens an import ban that stood as a symbol of the political clout of the pharmaceutical industry. It's unclear how soon consumers will see benefits, as the plan has to go through time-consuming regulatory approval and later could face court challenges from drug makers. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar said the administration's decision recognizes that prescription drug manufacturing and distribution is now international. Drug prices are lower in other economically advanced countries because governments take a leading role in setting prices. But in the U.S., Medicare is not permitted to negotiate with drug companies. NASA announced new contracts with 10 companies to help send people back to the moon by 2024, as well as to Mars afterward. The landing contracts, which include new deals with SpaceX, Lockheed Martin, Sierra Nevada, and Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, will see each of the companies work with NASA to accomplish both space exploration goals. NASA, as part of the deals, provides expertise, facilities, hardware, and software at no cost. At Kennedy Space Center in Florida, a partnership with SpaceX will study how rockets can best land on the moon. Also working with Kennedy, Lockheed Martin will test robotic systems for growing plants and crops in space. Sierra Nevada Corporation of Sparks, Nevada, will work with NASA on 2 entry, descent, and landing projects. SpaceX will also work on the transfer of rocket fuel in orbit, an important step in the development of the company's Starship space vehicle. Blue Origin will test materials for rocket engine nozzles for lunar landers and on a new fuel cell power system for the company's Blue Moon lander. The system would be aimed at providing uninterrupted power during the lunar night, which lasts for about 2 weeks in most locations, according to NASA. With 2 Women's World Cup titles in hand, U.S. national team coach Jill Ellis says it's time to move on. Ellis is stepping down after leading the team to 2 consecutive Women's World Cup victories since taking the post in 2014. Ellis's contract was set to expire July 31st, and she hadn't commented on whether she would stay with U.S. Soccer, leading to speculation of her departure, though it was possible for her to coach the team through the Tokyo Olympics in 2020. She said, "It's obviously been a fantastic run, a fantastic ride." Ellis, who is 52, was named coach of the team in 2014 and has led it to 8 overall tournament titles, including victories at the World Cup in 2015 and earlier this year. Over the course of her tenure, the United States lost just 7 matches. She will remain with the team for the World Cup Victory Tour, which kicks off Saturday with a match against Ireland at the Rose Bowl. Following the conclusion of the 5-match tour in October, she will serve as a U.S. soccer ambassador for at least a year. Ellis said she wanted to spend more time with her family after more than 5 years in charge of the team. And that's your update for this Wednesday, July 31st, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful week.